What is going on, FA Nation? Jonathan here with Keith Eister. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS Playbook live show. It is Friday. We have 11 games here on the DraftKings main slate. We are back from the MLB All-Star break. And Keith, honestly, I'm excited to have baseball back because there really wasn't much to do these last few days. We had, some WNBA. We had the PGA Open Championship going on. Maybe you were getting in some best ball NFL drafts, but it's good to get baseball back in our lives.
Definitely good to have baseball back. Entering the dog days of summer here, the season starts to drag, but it's fun coming out of the All-Star break. Nice big slate here for us in our first day back. Got to watch my Cubs beat your Red Sox already.
Yeah.
We're off to a good start.
Tough first inning for Lucas Giolito there. He settled down, but Sox weren't able to overcome Colin Rea in the bullpen there of Chicago. So, you know what? Some teams start hot. Hopefully the Red Sox can pick up their momentum over the weekend for my sake, maybe not for yours. Looking at this slate here, when I did the preview show this morning, DraftKings had Max Fried as the listed starter. He was scratched. He's got the blister issue still going on. Hopeful to make his next start sometime next week. So take that top starter off the board now. We only have two pitchers up over the $9,000 tier. You did the playbook today, so nobody knows this slate more in depth than you. When it comes to the pitching position today, how did you find yourself going?
Yeah, seeing Seth Lugo at the top of the board is kind of a strange thing. We don't see that very often.
Nope.
Don't think of him quite having the upside to pay it off, but he does get a really good matchup against Miami. I still worry about the strikeout upside a little bit for him. So I think Spencer Strider for $500 less is the way to go here. Obviously a more risky matchup for him against the Yankees, but the Yankees do strike out enough. Strider coming off a big 11 strikeout performance right before the break there. Probably not quite back to 100% Spencer Strider that we know, who can just dominate everyone, but the strikeouts are still there. I think there's enough swing and miss in the Yankees lineup, so I'm willing to take on the power risk that they pose as well.
Yeah, he's the highest roster pitcher on the slate here today. Again, you mentioned, the Lugo or Strider. No one's playing Lugo against Miami. He's only 10% rostered, over 30% for Spencer Strider. And then Luis Castillo at $8,500 is actually getting nearly 30% rostership here today as well, which I thought felt a little surprising because, there are some other pitchers on the slate that I kind of would look to gravitate towards. No real knock on Castillo. Like, he's been fine. And obviously, historically, his home numbers have been better than the road. And that continues again here this season, almost a strikeout per inning at 2.29 ERA. But Houston's offense, hasn't been terrible. Are you buying or selling Castillo at his ownership today?
I think it's a fair price tag. I don't love the ownership, but he does have a couple of factors working for him. The strikeout rate has been in decline for the last couple of seasons. The velocity's come down a little bit. So I've barely played Luis Castillo at all this season.
Right.
But I think this matchup sets up okay for him because the Astros have so many right-handed hitters. And Castillo has significant splits when it comes to righties and lefties. He strikes out 23.9% of righties compared to only 16.9% of lefties. So it is a pretty decent matchup for him since the Astros are so right-handed heavy. There's a very obvious name just below him here that I think we're going to get to coming off an injury. But we saw 85 pitches from Glasnow last time. Yeah. I prefer Glasnow over Castillo, but Castillo's fine. I think it's a better matchup than maybe people will give him credit for.
Yeah, so the Glasnow one was the first thing that I was kind of drawn to because this is a guy, and you can see the historical pricing on him, around a 10K pitcher that you're getting for $8,000. He was 87 in his return and threw 5 shutout innings with 5 Ks, 85 pitches. Same exact matchup, drawing it back here. Yes, Milwaukee's numbers overall against righties this year have been pretty good. Don't strike out generally a ton, but we're talking about a guy in Glasnow that can be an upper tier starting pitcher. Even if they keep him at 85 again, I think the price at 8K is worth the upside there. I also like Chris Bassett. We've seen San Francisco and their numbers against right-handed pitching and just kind of their numbers in general not look great even since the Rafael Devers trade. Now, Again, Bassett's struggles have been against left-handed hitters, and there'll be some lefties in this lineup, including Devers, who has plenty of experience going up against Chris Bassett from the days with Boston there. And then I liked Slade Giacone as well at $7,800 going up against the A's. You take the A's out of Sacramento. Still a team that hits for a lot of power, but the average and WOBA numbers drop down. And Giacone's pitched really well here of late.
Yeah, Glasnow's the clear standout in the range, but I do think all of these guys are playable. I'm with you on Bassett. I think it's a fine matchup for him. San Francisco is not really an offense that scares me. They do get a little bit left-handed for my liking with Bassett, so I prefer Giacone over Bassett as well. Above average strikeout rate from him has been a really solid pickup for Cleveland, who just has a really great pitching infrastructure there.
Yeah.
They're known for helping guys take that next step, and it appears that Giacone has done that.
Yeah, the key part in that trade for Josh Naylor in the offseason, getting him from Arizona. You work your way down. When I was in the preview show, there was a couple of names here that I did like. I liked Charlie Morton in this matchup against Tampa Bay. I know we've liked Tampa Bay's offense at times this year, and they are getting Brandon Lowe back, so that adds a big bat into there. But since the first month of the season, Charlie Morton's basically been a 3 to sub-3 ERA pitcher. Strikeouts have been there. It's one of the reasons why he's one of the hotter names potentially available at the deadline this year. So I don't mind him even in Tampa Bay. I think Reese Olson against Texas could be fine as well. What are your thoughts when we hit the 7K range? Anybody for you like more than the others?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pitchers that are playable. Nothing really stands out in this range. I think Morton is fine. I don't love the ballpark there for him.
Sure.
Could be prone to some homers in that minor league park there. Brandon Walter is interesting just for the strikeout upside. I'm not necessarily afraid of Seattle. They have a lot of power in their lineup. Obviously, Cal Raleigh has had an incredible season.
Yeah.
Walter has been striking out righties at a 25% clip, though. So I think there's some upside there.
I looked at Walter a bit as well because I did our pick'em articles today over at Fantasy Alarm and trying to see what kind of that matchup looks like. From an ISO perspective against left-handed pitching, Seattle over the last month, 232 ISO versus lefties, highest in baseball. 250 batting average, 338 WOBA. I think that kind of almost coincides with, Randy Arozarena's recent surge. Obviously, the only hits Cal Raleigh has had literally have been home runs over the last 30 days. So they're starting to heat up from a power perspective, which had me a little concerned with Brandon Walter here because he is giving up a lot of home runs. But to your point, he is also generating a lot of swing and miss. And this is still a Seattle lineup that does strike out a fair amount. But over the last month, that offense against lefties has been pretty good.
Yeah, it really has. Raleigh's doing a lot of the heavy lifting, obviously, there. But Julio's been good against lefties. Rosarena, as you mentioned, has been really good against lefties here recently as well. But there are some strikeouts. All three of those guys strike out a decent amount. Garver's in there. He strikes out a bunch. So lots of strikeouts in that Seattle lineup, too. Definitely not without risk, though. The power numbers you mentioned, for sure.
If we dip below 7K, obviously sometimes we throw darts at pitchers going against Colorado, even in cores. I don't know if Paddock is on that list for you or not here, but I think JB Sears is kind of in an interesting spot here. We've talked a lot about Cleveland and their struggle specifically against left-handed pitching, in that same 30-day time frame. 195 team batting average, 259 team WOBA against left-handed pitching with a 22% strikeout rate. Sears numbers haven't been great, but they've been better on the road. 4.14 ERA, versus a 5.6. So, strikeouts are starting to come around a little bit more for Sears. If I was taking a dart at a guy under 7K today, Sears seemingly might have the better matchup.
Yeah, I don't hate it at all. Definitely gets the ballpark upgrade going into Cleveland away from that park in West Sacramento. So that's a huge bump for him. You mentioned his road numbers. And Cleveland has been just atrocious against lefties. He basically needs to work around Jose Ramirez, and I think he can have some success here. In deeper tournaments, I am throwing a couple of darts at Taj Bradley.
Okay.
He's not quite what we wanted him to be. It looked like he was breaking out in a big way last year. The strikeout rate is down around 20% this year. So not great. Baltimore's been an above average offense after really struggling to begin the season. So there's definitely some risk there in that small ballpark there as well. But I think there's some talent there for the $7,200 price tag.
Sure.
And then right below him, Sean Manaea, I actually have a lot of interest in.
Okay.
The pitch count is the biggest concern here. He pitched in long relief in his first outing of the season. Has obviously been on the shelf all season long, except for that one outing before the break. But he came out and he struck out 7 guys on 65 pitches. There's a lot of swing and miss with Sean Manaea. I'm concerned that he's only going 75, 80 pitches here. So it's a tournament dart throw more than it is a confidence play. But he is too cheap for his talent level, in my opinion. The Cincinnati offense struggles against lefties as well. They're a little bit better now that they have some of their guys back. But still not an offense that I'm necessarily terrified of.
No, listen, we saw kind of the breakout year from Manaea last season, a guy that can definitely eat some innings, and the strikeouts, like you said, weren't always a part of his game, and when he was with the A's and things like that. But last year the numbers were pretty good for him. So I agree at 7K again. If he's only going to go 80 pitches and he goes 5 innings, well, he's 7K. He's not 9K. So you can kind of live with the 13 points he might get you, or even more, like you said, 16 in that game in relief there. So I definitely don't mind that. I'm not really going to touch anybody else here, though. Do you have anything else you want?
There's a name there, and it's been a really, really rough season. Sandy Alcantara at a $6,000 price tag. Maybe he had some time to reset over the break.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm full stacking against him today. All my pick and props were like all Royals. I took the over 2.5 earned on him today. So I'm just, I don't know. The velocity's fine. The pitch counts have been great. They leave him out there forever. So like they're willing to let him get hit. You see the pitch counts, you see the runs and hits allowed. They just like, all right, when you throw 100 pitches, we'll take you out, but you're out there for 100 pitches, So
I think that's a really good point. Like there's a possibility you get 7 innings out of a 6K pitcher, and that's worth something.
I agree.
Now he could give up 6 or 7 runs in those 7 innings as well, which is what he's been doing all season long. They are desperate to move him, I think. So like you said, they're going to give him 100 pitches and just hope that he can show a team something. So that they can move him in a week or two. He only has a couple of starts left. So he's going to be out there. Whether he can keep the ball in the park or not is a different story. The ground ball rate has regressed as well. The strikeouts were never a forte of his. So it's certainly incredibly risky. But getting 7 innings out of a guy who's 6K is not something that you can do very often.
Yeah, and honestly, that really is the appeal, because like you said, even if he goes, maybe he gives up 3, but he strikes out 5 and goes 6 innings or something like that, that's plenty of points at 6K. So
if you're playing on FanDuel, especially, Manaea is really priced up on FanDuel, and Alcantara is like $1,500 cheaper. I think FanDuel is a really nice spot to, if you want to save some money, go down to Alcantara.
Moving on over to the catcher position here. Again, just looking at ownership, we do have Coors Field on this slate. So as you would probably expect with a lefty on the mound against Minnesota here, going to dominate the ownership, and that's what we have with Ryan Jeffers. 20% and nobody else over 10%. Jeffers hitting second tonight against Kyle Freeland and crew. Now, this year, Jeffers only has like a 105 ISO versus lefties, but the last 3 years, he was like 220 plus. So historically, absolutely hammers left-handed pitching. This year, the power numbers haven't necessarily been there for him, but it's hard to, it's hard to fade Coors sometimes in these spots. I guess my question is, like, do you find yourself willing to spend $4,700 here on Ryan Jeffers?
Yeah, it's hard to say anything bad about Jeffers. The ISO being down this year is definitely a knock against him, but his historical success is so good. I'm willing to overlook it. The Twins are clearly the best offense. I mean, they have a run total over 6. I don't believe anyone else is over 5. So they're in the best spot of the night. A catcher hitting second in the order. I think he's well worth the $4,700. I would say he's even a little underpriced.
Yeah, I'm looking at them right now. 6.5 implied run total for Minnesota. So again, a lot of runs. So he's up over 20%. In that range, obviously, you can always play Colorado if you want, or Hunter Goodman on the other side of that matchup. When I did the preview show this morning, it listed Milwaukee's starter as lefty Jose Quintana. Now it's Quinn Priester. So we'll get to some Dodgers here, because there is some very cheap pricing on some Dodgers here today. But if you're looking to spend up, I think those plays are fine. Where do you look to go in the mid-range today?
I like the Blue Jays a lot. Justin Verlander getting up there in age. Alejandro Kirk should hit somewhere in fact, he's confirmed to hit 6th. So middle of the order catcher there at 4K against a guy who doesn't strike many people out anymore. I like him quite a bit. I think Drake Baldwin is fine. He's had a nice season. Another middle of the order guy. Strider, since he's not as dominant as we know he can be, or hasn't been, at least so far to this point. I think looking at some Yankees for home runs, I don't necessarily want to stack against Strider because he has that strikeout ability, but I think you could hunt for home runs against him. So a dart throw at Ben Rice is fine by me.
Yeah, Ben Rice, Austin Wells has been really good for the Yankees going into that break there as well. Salvi Perez is your number 2 guy in terms of ownership today. Again, everybody just kind of going against Alcantara. I'll certainly buy into that. Anything else for you at catcher?
Yeah, I like the Perez shout out. Don't like that he's getting a ton of ownership, but we've seen Alcantara blow up plenty. Dylan Dingler, the other guy I want to mention. The Tigers, I have a lot of interest in. Corbin's been pretty good, but I mean, the Tigers have been a top 5 offense against left-handed pitching. So Dingler in a Tiger stack is good with me.
Yep, I'm good with you there as well. David Fry is the other one getting ownership, hitting second tonight. Only a $2,500 punt. Another guy that has really big power, ISO numbers against left-handed pitching. So if you're not buying in on the JP Sears value today, Fry seemingly is the punt play to go today at the first base position, catcher position rather. Going over to first base, Ohtani always just gets his usual ownership, and then you're getting Ty France just because he's in Coors. What are your thoughts spending up at the position today?
Yeah, the Dodgers look really good. Ohtani is priced appropriately, but the rest of them, because they've struggled, they really faltered going into the break, got swept by Milwaukee, and then were okay against the Giants, but didn't score many runs. They just haven't been scoring as many runs recently. So the Dodgers stack around Ohtani is pretty friendly priced. And
everybody's $4,400 or less, which is crazy.
Yep.
So
yeah. Don't see those prices on Dodgers very often. Quinn Priester's given up a lot of hard contact. There is some ground ball ability there, but the Dodgers are also loaded with fly ball hitters. So Ohtani is the top guy at the position. I like Vlad Guerrero a lot as well. I mentioned Verlander and his strikeouts being down, giving up a lot of hard contact as well. Nick Kurtz has been mashing homers at an incredible rate, so certainly don't mind him. Ballpark downgrade for him, but still very playable.
Yeah. He can hit it out of anything. So
yeah, absolutely. Freddie Freeman, you mentioned the pricing. $4,300 for Freddie Freeman seems crazy against a pitcher who doesn't strike out a ton of guys and gives up a lot of hard contact.
No, I felt the same way when I was doing the previous show. I was looking at these prices. I'm like, what are we? Like, I get it. They lost at one point like 7 straight or something like that, but still the Dodgers. They're home out of a break. Like, there's a lot to like about that spot, and they're all basically free except for Ohtani there. So I'm with you there. Again, France is your chalk play because he's in Coors and a lefty hitting fifth, $4,100. Ryan O'Hearn if you're not on Taj Bradley, Spencer Steer if you're not doing Manaea, Pascantino I also like in that range as well. Any other values for you today?
Spencer Torkelson, a guy I want to talk about for sure. I mentioned liking the Tigers. His numbers against lefties look really good. 367 ISO. Even though Corbin's been okay, I certainly think Torkelson can get one.
Sure, don't mind that. Second base position. Again, not to be repetitive, Willie Castro, Minnesota in Coors, highest rostered. Brooks Lee, Minnesota in Coors, number 2. So those are the 2 guys up over $4,000 where the ownership is going. But, you know, Ketel Marte, Jazz Chisholm, Brandon Lau. There's a lot of still talented hitters up here. Do you like any of them over the priced up Willie Castro today?
I don't like the expensive guys more than Willie Castro, but I do like Gleyber Torres at least as much. Just right there below him at 4,500. Another guy who's had a really good season against lefties.
Yeah, I'm good with it. Again, Tigers generally in a good spot here. Again, mentioned Brooks Lee, $4,000 if you want some more exposure to Minnesota. Jackson Holiday's $3,800. I think there's a good spot for him there as well. Jonathan India is leading off. If you're buying Kansas City against Alcantara, certainly a spot for him there. And then Angel Martinez is your third highest. He's the only other guy up over 10% so far at the second base position. Had a stretch of 3 straight games at homers. As much as we kind of dog Cleveland's offense, he's been one of the better ones of late.
Yeah. Jackson Holiday is the guy I definitely wanted to mention there. Bradley struggles with lefty power. That Park plays really well for lefty power. So this is a nice upgrade for Baltimore. I like Baltimore as a stack. I really like the lefties as well if you just want to power hunt against Bradley.
Yeah. We'll get to a really good pricing on Gunnar Henderson in a position. Moving on over to the third base position, Brooks Lee with his dual positional eligibility and Royce Lewis, again, are your top 2 guys because Minnesota's in Coors. Michael Garcia is your number 2 guy in ownership there. Again, drawing the Sandy Alcantara matchup and then Jose Ramirez. So kind of spread across the price range for where you want to spend today if you're going chalk. If you're not going chalk, do you got a favorite of the top group here?
Yeah, I think Jose Ramirez looks really good. Sears has given up a lot of power. Ramirez, we mentioned Cleveland being bad against lefties, but Jose Ramirez is still elite. So I like the ownership on him today. Addison Barger is one of my favorites. He's been Toronto's best hitter for several months now. So I'm just going to keep playing that guy. I don't think he's priced quite where he's played to this point, and I'm not afraid of Verlander any longer. Bassett has lefty power problems, so Devers is fine. I know he's struggled a good amount, but I don't mind getting to some Devers. Jordan Westberg looks really good. I like the Baltimore stack a good amount. Upgrade for righties in that park too. Baltimore moved the fences back, so their home park doesn't play well for right-handed power. Nice park upgrade there. And Bradley's the strikeout rate, I think he's very hittable. Zach McKinstry, lefty's actually been really good. I mentioned Tigers a lot. I like him a ton. And then going down a little bit more, Ryan McMahon is certainly playable. I like some Rockies too.
Yeah, I'm with you there. McMahon for sure at $3,800. I'm good with that play. Again, Paddock hasn't been anything special. I don't mind Paredes as an option for us here. Did you mention Vientos?
I did not, but he's cheap. I certainly can get on board with that.
He's been starting to hit a little bit, right? And it's a lefty, which is a spot we've always kind of wanted to target. I think Lodolo is a pretty talented pitcher, but this would be the right spot. He is $2,900, and no one's really playing the Mets today, so I'm okay taking a dart throw there. Anything else for you?
Royce Lewis, Twins. Obviously, you can play anybody in the Twins lineup. Sure. That's all I got. Ronnie Mauricio's cheap too. If you're stacking Mets, it's fine. That's part of the appeal of the Mets stack is some of those guys are really cheap.
Shortstop. Ellie De La Cruz, Bobby Witt Jr., Francisco Lindor are your top three price plays. From an ownership perspective, Bobby Witt is the spend up. Carlos Correa is your chalk, and Gunnar Henderson is the only other one over $10,000. So basically getting 3 price points here, up over 5K, mid 4K, and then down here for Correa at 4,200.
Yep, those are the 3 I would definitely highlight right off the bat. They're all in great spots. I also want to mention Bo Bichette and Corey Seager in the high 4s as well. Seager's been heating up of late, and Bichette's had a nice season after a down year last year.
Agreed. Looks like Ezekiel Tovar's back, in the lineup here for them, or has been back rather in the lineup for them. Little power, little speed. I mean, are we interested here at $3,200 getting the other side of that Coors matchup?
Yeah, I mentioned liking some Rockies. He at that price point, hitting in the middle of the order, not afraid of Paddock. I'm into that for sure.
Yep, agreed. Anything else for you at short today?
Javier Baez, I like, has had a resurgent season, has been really good against lefties.
Yep, I'm in the powers there. I like that out of him. Winning baseball team, and Javier Baez starts to play. Who knew?
Yeah.
Motivated. All right, outfield again. This is where I think it kind of gets interesting because there's some really cheap Dodgers that we can talk about. Byron Buxton, of course, is your top guy. Willie Castro, Harrison Bader, and Minnesota, top guys. But what are your thoughts, I guess, on sort of the rest of this expensive tier? Buxton, Ohtani are the top 2. No one's playing Judge. No one's playing Acuna. No one's playing Corbin Carroll. Like, these are opportunities to get, low percentage on some really elite plays.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, on paper, obviously, Ohtani and Buxton are going to be the top 2 plays. They're in the best spots, but that doesn't mean that Aaron Judge can't hit 2 home runs today. So I certainly like that angle as a pivot to get away from some ownership. Corbin Carroll can hit a home run and steal a base. We've seen that plenty of times. I love Blue Jays, so getting to Springer, who's had a really good season, I like. Bellinger chasing a home run against Strider, I'd be all right with. Sure. But yeah, it's loaded as usual at the top of outfield.
Yep. Someone I highlighted on the preview show that could potentially be a good play today was Tyler Freeman. Freeman's $4,500. Again, I'm not sold on Paddock, so if you wanted to play Rockies, their leadoff hitter's got some speed, a little bit of power in his bat as well. In the mid-range, I'm good going there. You have the Milwaukee bats. You have the Seattle bats. Chandler Simpson, super popular today if you're just looking for some stolen base upside against Morton. So plenty of guys in this 4K range we can look to.
Yeah, Freeman and Coors is fine leading off. Stowers is a guy that I like to play a lot. He's found some power. Was a nice prospect in that over from Baltimore. Certainly don't mind him. Winfield Perez has really good numbers against lefties. It's a small sample, but again, Tigers top 5 offense against lefties. I like getting to him. The Mariners, I don't mind. Arozarena is cheap enough. Walter's prone to give up some power. So
like I said, the ISO for them, highest ISO in baseball the last 30 days against left-handed pitching, and Walter does give up home runs. So you get a red hot Randy Arozarena at $4,400 there. Could be a nice little, maybe a little 2-man if you wanted to tag him somewhere.
Yep, I'm fine with any of the other Rockies too. Jordan Beck or Brent Doyle. I mean, it's Coors Field. I'll play anybody in Coors pretty much.
Yeah, Mikey Moniak's one of my favorite plays too for value option. He's $3,900. You got him hitting second tonight. A Freeman Moniak, a little stack there could get it going. I mentioned the Dodgers, right? Teoscar Hernandez is $4,200. Andy Pages is $4K. I get it, like they're struggling, but this is the Dodgers, and they're all this cheap. You won't. Teoscar's been $5K this year, right? Like you're getting pretty big discounts on one of the more explosive offenses in baseball here.
Yeah, I cannot argue against that, and I don't think Quinn Priester is very good. He has a below-average fastball at least, so he's definitely prone to give up some power.
Yep, agreed. Anything else for you in this like low 4K, 5K, or 3K range?
Lucas leading off for the Blue Jays, a team I like a lot today. Baltimore, a team that I like a lot as well. Laureano has surprisingly great numbers against righties this season. Cowser has been really good as well. I prefer the lefties, so I'd probably Cowser over Laureano, but I like them both. Be fine with both of them in a stack.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Alec Burleson, a guy I like to play a good amount. Fott has lefty homer problems, so I can get to him.
You mentioned Toronto. Did you say Nathan Lucas leading off for them, $3,900?
Yep.
Ramon Laureano's $39. I like that play. You mentioned Bader's mega chalk at $39. Burleson's there, as you said. Profar leading off today. It's better spot now that it's not Fried.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily hate that one there. Anything else for you, cheap?
Conforto, I mean, he's in the Dodgers lineup. He's been awful this season, but $2,900. I'll take a stab there.
Sure. Caglianone's $2,700 if you think he gets it going, whereas Alcantara did have that little stretch of home runs where he hit 460 feet. Loperfido's down here, someone we've been kind of plugging into some lineups. That might be it, though, for some value here. So let's get our core play lineup together. Eugenio Suarez is what Warren says.
Yeah,
B-Day narrative as well.
Oh, then you got to play him.
Any trends for the first game in Coors, if there's altitude adjustments? I haven't ever looked if there's a game one trend or not.
A couple years ago, people were touting that and saying it was a thing. I don't think that anybody that ever actually taken the time to go and look at it.
For me, it's a baseball game, right? They're not like running wind sprints at altitude. He's up there. I don't really think that's going to be too much of an issue there. All right, let's get a lineup going. We kind of took out again. There's not really a top play. I think we're both in on Glass now, right? At 8K.
Yeah, it just feels a little bit too cheap for that talent. I think Strider is clearly the top pitcher on the board for upside, especially. That's a pretty chalky pairing. So if you want to go away from that, I'm fine with that. But I think those are clearly the two best pitchers on the slate.
I'm good with it. Again, two guys can get you 10 plus Ks, so it works. Works for me. Catcher, let's just go Salvi since he's kind of chalky. $4,200. Now, I guess is where the decision comes in. How much Minnesota, Colorado are we playing? And you and I have kind of highlighted liking Baltimore. We like the Dodgers value. What's our like top spend up today?
Top spend for me, I think, would be Ohtani over Buxton, but it's close. If you want to go Buxton, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, actually, I mean, you get a little salary saving, with Ohtani and ownership savings.
Yeah,
with Ohtani. Do you like him more at first or the outfield?
I really like Torkelson at first. So if you want to do him in the outfield, I'm good with that. I think the price on Torkelson for his upside today looks pretty good.
Okay, that gives us $3,800. So let's find a value that we can plug in here. Let's see, do we have any cheap Martinez? We'll do that at second. We'll do Martinez at second. $2,900. That feels like a pretty good value here today.
Yep. good with that.
Well, 4K. Let's get another play in here, and then we'll finish the lineup for the Discord. Where do you want to go?
Willie Castro's a little bit. We probably want some Twins exposure. He's a little bit expensive. Correa has a really nice price.
You want to do Bader, Correa?
Yeah, Bader and Correa both look really good at their prices.
So we'll do a little two-man there. So we have Glasnow, Strider, Perez, Torkelson, Martinez, Correa, Ohtani, Bader, third base and outfield with 4K left for the position. So we'll leave that for you guys, and we'll put the finished lineup in the Discord. I appreciate y'all tuning in. We are back, obviously, just one day because it's Friday, but we'll have the preview show and live stream for Monday, getting you guys ready to kick off a new week. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Good luck. We'll catch you later.